Melissa, or is that Colorado or something?
Oh, Telluride is so.
I think that's what I said.
You know what I was picturing?
Yep.
What? No.
92-year-old grandpa.
Yes,
was not
I knew it didn't make
with
sense.
our No, we don't.
Ready when you are, Marie.
All right, so we're picking up right here with Dr. Bezick on the superintendent's report.
Oh, it's already?
Yes,
Okay.
we're rolling.
A few things here. Enrollment wise, we started out the year 42 down, we ended 31 down, so we made some progress there. And over the next, probably the next month, we'll know what we have for sure coming into the JKers in the kindergarten there. A little bit of strategic plan, we had the meeting, core planning team a couple weeks ago, and at one of the upcoming meetings, we'll have a presentation just to kind of show you everything that washed out of there with the results, which ones were passed and which ones we'll be working on in the new ones. On the construction update, my weekly report, I'll just keep summing up everything that's going on today. I had my last walkthrough with Market and Johnson today, so we've got 6 of the probably the top CM firms in the region, 2 states looking at the project. And I believe the 24th, I think we have for RFPs, and we'll assemble a committee to look at the RFPs. You'll get them all, but the committee will narrow it down to what we see the best 2 or 3 to bring in for an interview with the board on probably on that 8th, so we get them on board. The core teams at the middle school and high school have met last week, and now they're taking tours tomorrow. They'll be gone all day, from 7 in the morning till 4 at night, touring schools so they can get a look at what's out there as far as different renovations and that. So, and that's one thing where Wold really thrives. They really take a lot of input from staff and the stakeholders. And as they said to the groups in the meetings, a lot of it we have to push back on, because what'll happen now is, we look at the scope of the project, we set the budget, but when the stakeholders get involved, there's always more. So, they have to keep reins on the dollars and what have you there. But that's the process they'll be engaged in through the next month or so, until they get a pretty good idea on what all the details will be of the projects. Let's see.
How large a circle do they go on those tours?
Pardon?
Where do they go for those tours? Which schools?
Well, looking at they're going over to, on the western side of the cities, they look for schools that have similar things issues that we have as far as work to be done, and also, buildings that they've worked on, so they know them pretty well. And I'd have to look at I don't have a slip here, which buildings, you can pull it up, okay. But yeah, they've got it all mapped out, but they're, I know I think they're going out to Delano.
Monticello High School, Monticello Middle School, Delano High School, and Burnsville High School.
Okay, so right around the Twin Cities. I was wondering if we were going over to the one that had the large referendum passed 2 years ago. By, can't think of it, off track, sorry.
Okay, no, but that's, and again, this whole pre-construction, this planning, what have you, is Old's really good. They're good at this. So the people will they'll come back with ideas that we've never thought of. I sent out today. George got recognized as one of the top 4 maintenance heads in the state, and so we'll have to recognize him at one of our upcoming meetings.
We get to recognize him.
Yeah, it's a honor through WASBO that the business managers nominate people for, and so I take it that Dave and Jody nominate them.
Yeah, Jody spearheaded that, and we worked together on this.
Yeah, so that's great. So we'll get him in here we'll have to drag him in, I'm sure. Let's see, compensation plan update. We're waiting now for Victoria to get the information back to us on all the different groups, her updated numbers. Also, we met with an employee council the other day and went through, the task was each employee group was to come back with ideas for improvements in the handbook or changes in the handbook. And so we've got each group, each category with what they would like to see, and that's kind of the final stage of redoing the handbook. But that all ties to dollars, and that has to all come in at the same conversation with compensation. So that'll be coming to you also. So right now, we're gonna do a little research on some of the things they asked for and wanna see change. How, are the common things in our conference or in the region as far as, you know, again, different things, whether it's sick day payout or insurance, whatever. Yeah, Bruce?
Is she doing administrators and teachers together? Is she doing both of those?
She's updating all
of
the
it?
grids that we have.
All of it,
Yeah, so again, as soon as we get that back, we'll try and fast track this and get as much information out to you before she comes in July, so, we can ask good questions.
Is that July 8th or the 22nd?
She's coming the 22nd, so we'll have to get some time in between there,
Good.
with the group. I never mentioned this at the last meeting, but the boundary appeal, as you know, we were prevailed in that. It was a good process. Of course, we thought it was last year or 2 years ago when we went down there, but we were surprised by the outcome. This year was pretty, learning from the last time we went down. This was big for us because it was 30 acres and it really sets a precedent then when, you get a couple that can do it, just the ball starts rolling. Now it's kind of, we're gonna protect our
Good.
boundaries here. And just on a personal note, is I sent out my weekend thing. I believe I'm heading out right after this meeting, and I'll be back sometime Wednesday, following Wednesday night. If you need to get a hold of me, Tasia will have access. I just don't know how much computer access. I'll bring my computer with, and I'll have my phone, but I just don't know what kind of reception I'm gonna have, whatever. So be patient if I don't get back to you right away. That's it.
Anyone have questions for Dr. Basic? All right, thank you, Dr. Basic. We're gonna move on to Dave, item 2C with the financial reports. Anything you wanna highlight for us, Dave?
At this time.
Okay. Any questions for Dave from anyone? Okay, we'll scoot right on to the item 2D, the school board member reports, Bridging Somerset. Now, I know you had, has it changed from the last meeting?
No, there won't be anything till this fall.
Okay, do they get kind of part of that? I guess not, because the construction, you've got it limited on membership, kind of the construction group, your advisory group, that would be much too large to have Bridging Somerset.
Yeah, no, that's gonna be a pretty tight group of about 8, maybe 9 people.
Great.
And that, so.
I'm glad you were able to reach out to some community members. That's wonderful to get that participation. CSA 11, their meeting was the same night as our last one, so I have nothing new there. There's some trainings coming up, but I'll do that in the other part. Community Ed, Catherine?
Yep, Renee said she is working on the calendar, and the scholarship committee has requested to be listed on the calendar, because somehow they got missed on something else.
In quarterly newsletter.
Right, and so they're gonna be listed on there, and she's also gonna add this year some, on the calendar, some things that, we're doing for construction, so, the public can go and look and see, okay, in the next month or so, this is what I can see on campus, in the next month or so, this is what I can see on campus. I thought that was a really good idea.
Good idea, yeah. Yeah, that'll be kind of neat to have that. Katie kind of was covered by Dr. Beatsick already with the McGrath study. Was there anything else that we should add from that employee council meeting?
I don't think so.
Well, we're gonna try and get another meeting this summer. Usually we don't meet in the summer, but when we get the requested pieces, the information back on that to, go through that. But I think as a board, you need to see that first and give some input.
I'd like that too. The Memorial Scholarship, Lori?
We had the scholarship presentation at the beginning of the senior memory night, so we started an hour and a half ahead, and it went really well. Great participation, lots of people there. We met afterward and have a list of things that went really well and some things that we'd like to do a little bit differently for next year. Overall, it went great though, and we would like to keep up that format.
Of the things that we would like to see differently for next year, are there things that that the board has to?
No.
Great. All right, on the other, we've got, I think Laura, were our rep at you were our throw-in, you got the last minute at the WASB resolutions. And so you will be getting this booklet, they said, later this summer, to be able to read through it, and they strongly recommend, there's a whole letter. We can get it on the website, anyone can download it on the website. They were thanking us for being participants in the WASB, and I hope that our dues are all up to date. There's good information there, a lot of it is we can access it without charge. But even if we wanted to charge it, the annual meeting is coming up, so they send a booklet on how we might want to do that. We usually have a pretty standard, I'm looking at you, Tasia, because I don't know if you want to do it that way or not. Ours has been very orderly, shall we say, pretty standard, so. But I do recommend looking at the WASB. They want to encourage us to review what resolutions were done. You can download this for free or get a copy, so if you prefer the hard copy, which I know Katie does, we can let Tasia know that. If you didn't get this, I'll give you a copy of this
Okay.
letter, so that you've got that. But they want us to, if there's something that our board feels strongly about and would like to put together a resolution, they encourage that. So, state impact. And then I think this one was different trainings that come up, and we're going to talk later about our board evaluation, but they're part of that, and there's 2 options on that. So
Do we have that?
we can get it. They usually just send 1 copy to him and the board president, and then we can get the rest or another copy right online, or whatever they've got. Do you want to take it?
Yeah,
Sure
can we get a
can.
link to that online then, or?
Yep.
I mean,
I think all of the trainings are listed out on the WASB website right now.
Yep. They really are, and these things too. So they probably send the hard copy so that it ding, 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 comes to your attention. And then from there. So those are, I can actually, maybe what we'll do is scan in these letters so that you guys can see what we got, because it'll give you a brief summary, and then you can decide if you want to go to the website to look at them. So that was under the other. If we want to add a WASB, to the agenda, so we get that, kind of cover that, it might be something to consider. We're on to, unless there's some more questions, we'll scoot on to item 3, the open forum. Do I have anyone here I didn't get a red card, so nobody has anything they want to speak about? We will scoot past that on to then item 4, the advanced services operations. And this, I think, Dr. Bezick, am I going to pass to Trent? Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. So Trent, if you can, share whatever you would like to on item 4A, the athletic training services RFP. Do you want us to start? Actually, we could start with a motion if anyone would like to.
Make a motion to approve athletic training services.
Okay.
I'll second.
Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Bruce. So now, Trent, do you have anything you want to highlight for us? You gave us some great information, helpful information ahead of time.
No, I mean, everything that was kind of discovered throughout the process, I forwarded a recommendation on Dr. Bezick, and I know that he forwarded that out to you all for review, and I haven't really yielded any questions in that time, so I guess I have nothing additional to add at this point.
Does anyone have any questions?
So now that we're gonna accept this, is it public what they came in as, or is it still?
Somebody attached it to the agenda.
Yeah, no, it's.
Okay.
That's all.
So the one we're accepting is significantly, I mean, like way cheaper than the other ones. Trent, are the services the same in your opinion?
I would say that the services that are being provided are at least the same quality or even better. They exceeded with some different things that we weren't even anticipating to come in, that they included with it, that it makes it a really good offer.
It looked like this is maybe their first time venturing into this. Is that accurate?
They
They've
currently
done-
work with New Richmond High School.
Okay, good. I thought
And
they were
has it
trying-
been sustainable with New Richmond High School? I mean, have they done it year after year? This
The
isn't
reports
just a
that I've
one-time
gotten
shot?
is
Good.
It's not uncommon for hospitals to go out and do this. It's pretty common over in the Eau Claire area, where they work with schools over in the Chippewa Valley too. Not Westfields in particular,
Right.
but for hospitals.
And is it common for hospitals to be so much lower than the other providers?
There was another hospital, Osceola Hospital also submitted a bid. I was wondering if it was significantly, how it compared from last year.
What we've currently spent this year.
Yeah.
The proposed bid is actually less than what we've currently been spending, and it's an increase in services.
Great.
One of the things that stood out was that they were able to guarantee double coverage for events, so if we have a volleyball game and a soccer game going on, they'll provide coverage at both events at no additional charge for us. If we have a hockey game and a basketball game, or a hockey game and a wrestling match going on, they'll provide an athletic trainer at both sites without an additional cost incurred.
Wow.
I can understand why they're doing that, though. A good relationship, establishing that relationship gives the hospital good exposure too.
Yeah, and they probably make their money off the referral to the doctor, more than a typical, I would think. They provide the backup services,
Yeah.
not just the upfront services.
So we have a motion and a second to recommend the school board approve the athletic training services provided by Westfield Hospital and Clinic.
I'd just like to thank our local businesses and individuals for bidding on
Yes.
this and being a part of this process, and people that are very important to the school district and community. So I just wanted to, have the opportunity to say that, and really appreciate it. Hopefully we can do business with our local individuals in the future.
I saw somewhere there was is this a 3-year contract, or is this just a 1-year?
The rate that they guaranteed us for was for 3 years.
Is that what it is? Okay, that's it.
Gosh.
I don't know how.
I don't know either, but I guess we gotta
Well, it's the,
run and go with it.
Do they have an hourly
They
that
can-
they say if
I
we
think
do
Marie,
above
you
and
said it.
beyond, they're gonna be
it's the
paying, or this
size
is
they
it?
can absorb. I mean, that's where it makes it hard to compete against
Yeah.
something like that.
Thank you, Bob. You're absolutely right. We have people to thank for the services that have been provided. Westfield, though, too, has indirectly many families too, so it's a tough one. We have a motion on the table. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries then. Thank you very much, Trent, for your research there. On to 4B. You're looking for just presenting it or a motion?
This is the step in the process where we approve the 1920 preliminary Fund 10 expenditure budget as presented. Is the motion.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, and I'll second that. So we're making the motion to approve the preliminary 2019-2020 budget as presented. Are there any questions?
So I can explain it a little bit. It's, this would include everything we've talked about to date. So the department budgets, where we saw athletics and activities, will increase a bit. IT will pursue the one-to-one. This includes the staffing changes that have been approved to date. There are known commercial insurance changes are already included in this. And the services that are known as well are included, otherwise they're just estimates for the increases. The variables to be determined, in the graph, the compensation related parts. This budget includes 3% overall for salary increase. Just as a placeholder, you can see overall, recognizing where we are at in the process, there's a lot yet to finalize and to update before we get to where we'll end up. That is, right now, it's about a net budget. The other bigger one is we have our health insurance RFP still out right now. Included a 9% cap because that's what Health Partners offered us. Straight up, they said we'll give you 9% this year, next year, so that's what we're using as the a conservative estimate. We still have to know our student FTE count in September, third Friday count, that's a big factor into what the revenue side looks like. The revenue on this budget does include the referendum.
It does include?
Does include, and it's also the current proposal from the Republicans in the state legislature, so $200 increase revenue limit for people aid. We also have the open enrollment transfer amount to be determined yet. So all of these things will cause numbers to fluctuate a bit, but this is where we're at right now.
Do you anticipate any surprises?
The state budget could be surprising. I've read a few things from SAA, which is our lobbying organization, statements that it could go until October. If the governor vetoes it, they won't discuss it again until the fall, which is, it's a big wrench for us because we have that 200, that minimum increase we're pretty sure we'll get. It's possible that it could be more than that. We're not optimistic at this point.
So conservative estimate,
This is the
Good.
conservative because it's what's offered by the Republicans.
okay.
All right, we have a motion on the table.
Weren't we,
Oh, I'm sorry.
weren't we planning with the referendum that we were gonna be able to put money away every year?
Not necessarily.
Well, that's what, that was one of our guiding hopes was to put that. With this,
Are you talking the fund balance? Or-
no, just out of the referendum money to start building a fund for maintenance.
Oh, for
we
maintenance,
don't
okay,
have
I didn't hear the
Yeah.
maintenance part.
I think you will probably still be able, I think you'll probably still be able to do that, just depends how big you wanna build each year. If you wanna try and stick $100,000 away, if the right things happen, you'll have that here, but, we're starting out with maybe $500,000 black ink, with this over from last year.
Also, we're clearing that out, you're saying,
Right.
to building,
There's a lot left to be determined. Our biggest factors are what is the state budget? What does that finally end up looking like? And what is our student count do? And so over time, I think we can get to the point you're making. And additionally, a lot of these things at this point in time are also based off of 18-19 budget. Some of it is based off of actual known things, anything that we know is in here, but some of it's based off of what we expect to happen in 18-19 and then, project that to the next year. And we still have to finalize 18. So there's a lot of updating to be done. If you look back at last year's June preliminary budget, it's not what ended up being our final budget in October.
So this is very conservative right now.
Good, okay.
I think it's a great idea though to have that in there. We used to, we were able to prior to 2010.
So the next time we'll get a big picture like this will be September at the budget hearing. So we'll be talking about all these components from now until then, individually or as groups of things. But the next snapshot like this, and it'll be more detailed even, will be September 10th or 11th.
In the worst case, you're protecting your fund balance too.
Right.
Are there any other questions? If not, we have a motion on the table to approve the 2019-2020 preliminary budget made by Catherine, seconded by myself. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. So we're on to 4C, the policy updates. Do we have someone willing to make the motion?
I will make a motion that we pass policies 3230, 3430.01, 4230, and 4430.01 as presented.
Thank you, Lori. Is anyone comfortable making a second? Thank you, Patty Jo. So we kind of talked about these at the work session, so I'm thinking
And
we're
the
feeling.
changes we discussed, Tasia included in this updated policy.
Way to go, guys.
Yeah. Well, and it was a quick review then too at that work session. Thank you very much. Good questions were asked too. So we've got a motion on the table by Lori, seconded by Patty Jo for the board to approve the updates to policies 3230, 343001, 4230, and 443001 as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So now we're on to, I would call this the first reading of 4D, those policies. Are there things that you want to bring to our
Yes.
attention? Okay,
Yes.
do you want to do them individually?
Thank you for the hard copies. It's so hard
Well,
to negotiate 8 of them. I
There's
can't.
not everything is on here. It's the easy things I didn't retype.
Okay.
So, the first thing in 5111, Tasia, do you have it up?
Yep.
Okay, so the three of us, Patty Jo and Katie and myself, met and went through all these policies. And the first thing that we wanted to change is in B, the green, where it says, on the basis of an individual's alienage, we would like to change that to an individual's immigration status.
Sure, alienage is very
Sounds
negative
very-
connotation.
Oh, is that why? I was thinking it just
Yes.
sounded odd.
No, it's a negative
That's actually a
connotation.
word, alienage?
Uh-huh, because alien is
Oh.
immigration status, yes.
We would like immigration status. And instead of talking about illegal aliens, we would like to talk about undocumented immigrants.
Thank you.
Those are both really good. I can write that one.
The next thing I have is in letter F. Patty Jo, is that what you have as well?
Correct.
We had, and I mentioned this to Dr. Bezick this afternoon, we were wondering why parents were even mentioned, because we couldn't think of a situation where a parent would be in a position to pay tuition to a public school. And I think you said you were gonna check with
Yeah.
someone on that?
You know,
Well, they are in a position to pay tuition if they are open enrolling into our district and we are not actually accepting them. That's when they have that option to pay, or at least that's what we've had in the past.
I don't think so.
We've had, I know we've had some where they paid a certain amount.
But I don't know if this is, that's what we gotta find out from them, what's behind this piece. Because basically it's,
Wow, I don't know.
you know, we're gonna, home district's gonna pay.
Yeah, the other school district pays, but I don't recall a parent ever paying.
I do, but I can't
There's
remember.
been cases,
Yeah,
I
there
don't know
have
about
been
here, but
cases.
there's been, you know, again, it's probably similar, but, you know, the trend now, the whole thing is resident district pays.
Right.
And I'm wondering if when they did, if it was prior to that open enrollment law change. Maybe it was.
It could be.
Oh, it could have been that old. Wow.
Yeah, it might
Yeah, we
have
need
been.
clarification on that one.
Yep.
The next one in here has to do with letter Q. And I talked with Dr. Bezick about this today as well. It's very confusing. It appears what they're talking about is in the beginning, they're talking about the administrator of a building, like a principal is making this decision. And then later, if the student or the student's parents would like to appeal, they can go to the district administrator. So wherever it says district administrator, in the first several lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, in the first 8 lines, if we could just have it say administrator or building administrator.
In Q1?
Yeah,
Yeah, Q1.
or principal, you know, whatever you think is best.
Principal would probably be better, building principal. Or building administrator.
And then starting on the 9th line, where it already says district administrator, that should stay district administrator. Because they're talking about appealing the decision. And then the first thing that I have on the typed paper would be a rewording of number 2. We would like to substitute the wording presented in the notes for the wording that's in green. It's much more clear.
So it's really saying the same thing.
Yep.
Just with less words and
Okay, yeah.
And it's-
hours.
But do those other three conditions need to be satisfied as well? I mean, because you really condensed it.
They're just
If
giving
he's
the
a
different
minor, or if his
options.
parents aren't there, you don't think that needs to be included? I think it spells it out probably, so maybe you need to check with Neola to see if there's a reason that he's included those specific specifications. Student is a minor, student's parents.
But that just gives the exact details, which are, any student would be one of all of those, one of those things. So it's just redundancy, because the student's gonna fall under one of those.
But are they spelled out or in Q at the header or somewhere else? I get what you're saying, but at the same time, I wonder if there's a reason they spelled it out like that.
So Tasia or Mark, would you like to check with Neola on that?
What specifically, just,
If there's a reason we need to include the student is a minor, the student's parents and the school board that expelled the student, or the third option there.
Relevancy of this whole
In
paragraph.
Q2, if there's a reason we need that much language in there.
Relevancy and redundancy.
There's 5.
Can we go with the suggestion, or is there a reason that some of that extra language needs to be included?
So on to, do you have any, does that make sense? We're just gonna confirm with Neola. Great summary though. So policy 5200 then, D2?
Yeah. We had some, Katie says that there is a county truancy committee and there is a county truancy plan. It's too bad Trent just left. Do we have that as a part of our student handbook, or should we?
I wonder what the process is. It depends on what the handbook says, what the process is.
I can tell you that I'm like 90% sure, schools, they just follow the county policy.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't,
Yeah.
and a kid might not live in the same, like, if the kid lives in one township or the county and one, you may have different policies, so you can't list them all in your handbook. You might have kids that live in different counties.
We have to
Okay.
follow their policy, because that's where the kids end up
Correct.
in the process, so.
Yeah, you gotta follow the county
But
policy.
it says the board will issue a truancy plan, and I wanted to know if we have done that.
I'd have to look at.
And it says that the board will review it every 2 years. And I don't even know if we have one, so I haven't been able to review it.
And I think that's what Shannon was kind of addressing at the last meeting she was running into, so we probably do need to review it and make sure we've got everything in sync.
Yeah, because that, just what we talked about in that last policy is what she went through in our last meeting.
Patty Jo, is there anything else about that?
Okay.
no, that was the biggest thing, is knowing where it is and where we
Yep.
find it, since we don't know.
Okay.
And then in the notice of truancy, that's another rewording that we did to make it more clear. There were sentences that repeated themselves in here.
Yeah, I think the principals need to look at that.
So your question, excuse me, question is, does the county have a,
I was on to the next thing.
I was just looking at the so,
We know the county has
oh,
one,
you do?
yeah.
Maybe- maybe we
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they're the ones that.
So what is actually different in your notice of truancy?
Nothing's different. It's just doesn't repeat the same sentence twice in a different order.
Oh, yeah, okay, because I was saying it's
The
the same
meaning
thing.
is the same.
Okay. I missed that it repeated a sentence, I must have just read right through it.
Yeah, it repeats it just in a different way to repeat it differently.
Can you say that again differently?
Exactly, I read it.
And then the last item, makeup, coursework, and examinations.
Yeah,
Patty Jo, you wanna talk about this one?
yeah, so son's in high school and he doesn't have a timeline till he has to turn in his work for most things. He can just turn them in whenever he wants. So if we have a 2-day turn-in time for an absence, but yet the classes don't have due dates or firm due dates, what's the point of having a 2-day turn-in time? So we talked about changing it from will have 2 days to will have a minimum of 2 days.
To match what appears to be current practice at the high school and the middle school. But it brought up, the issue of whether that practice,
If it changes.
Right, and if it affects, I mean, the students that are truant, to give them that leeway that the rest of them have, but at the same time, we can't really, if nobody has a
rather
due date, what
ineffective.
can we do? Correct.
No, I get it, let's
So,
clarify that.
Yeah, I think the principals should look at that.
I don't know if the rest of you have had, but I've had more than one parent concerned with that open policy.
I have two.
I am one of those parents.
But you didn't even talk to me, so now you're another one.
Did you say with the makeup policy?
No,
Yeah.
with the
Well,
open,
no
on
due date policy.
no due dates.
Oh, okay.
I think he had one class out of 5 or 6 classes that had solid due dates, the rest of them didn't have any due dates. And so he ended up
In a little bit of trouble, yeah.
He's a procrastinator.
And I'm sure he's not the only one.
Oh, no. And the other parents who have talked to me, and probably to you also, Marie, are worried about how this is preparing them for life beyond high school.
Because in the business world, they have deadlines.
Yeah.
They have to have projects done by a
College or
certain
tech
date, so
school as well.
what do we need to do? I know I feel strongly about it, I don't know how the rest of you do, but it sounds like 2 of you agree with me. What do we need to do to encourage a review of that towards more definitive deadlines on
Well, that's
assignments?
Request.
That's what we're doing here is, I'll take it to the principals.
Okay, great, thank you.
Because I don't know what practice is between this is what I've always gone by.
Yep.
So if they've changed something, then we've gotta,
Thanks for pulling that up, because you've got hands-on experience, too. All right, so truancy attendance is the one we just covered, so we're on to, did you have anything on 5512, 5515, 5530? Because I see you jumped right to 8310 here. How about those?
5512 was fine as is,
Okay.
and there was nothing to be checked, so that one's ready to go forward. 5515, this one specifically mentions snowmobiles, but we are wondering about ATVs, especially since in the township at least, and I think in the village, many of the roads have been approved for ATV use.
Have they?
I know, they have. Yes.
In the village as well.
Yes.
I think I've only seen maybe a
But-
snowmobile coming to school once, but is that pretty common around here?
ATVs all over the place.
Well, no, I know, but
Snowmobiles,
not to
not
school,
so
I
much.
haven't seen,
But Bob, you know very well, they go right down Depot.
Right.
And that's been
And-
approved as an ATV route.
Yeah. So there's some struggle with some individuals abiding to the ATV routes. So, like, it's at our discretion to say, we do or we don't want those permitted on the school roads.
Because are the school roads designated?
Well, that's what I was just
No.
gonna ask Bob.
They're not.
No.
Okay, if they're not, then we leave it just
And
as
then we
is.
adopt that ordinance, well, we wouldn't have to, because it's not a designated route, so then local law enforcement has jurisdiction to ticket on this campus, which has been disputed and argued. It's right in our ordinances that they have legal right to write somebody a ticket for speeding or any other infractions of a motor vehicle, including an ATV.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, the route is Depot Road, and if they come across that or come from the south to here, it would be considered not acceptable by the ordinances of the village?
Right.
So does snowmobile fall in that same category?
I do not know that.
That was the next question,
That was
whether
over.
they're, because it specifically mentions a legally qualified,
Yep,
That they can use snowmobile in designated areas.
In designated, yeah,
Not
within
the village
designated
areas.
areas.
Don't believe we have a snowmobile route running through the school. The only thing is if they're gonna teach ATV, it's snowmobile safety on school property.
Do they do hands-on practice? I just
But
thought it
that's
was all
typically done at, I think, WITC.
WTC, and I think it's all by book too. I don't even think they do a course except for motorcycle.
So this one is okay the way it is, we
It would
just
be.
had those questions. Right, Patty Jo?
Mhm.
Yeah. And the drug prevention one was fine the way it was?
Corporal punishment, 5630?
Yeah, in the third green section, where it says professional staff as well as support staff. I was just wondering if Tasia was ready.
Mhm.
All right. Down below, it uses the words, at the very bottom paragraph, it uses the words any staff member, full-time, part-time, or substitute. And we'd like that phrase to go in place of professional staff as well as support staff,
Good catch.
so
Clarity.
that there's consistency between the two sections and it covers all of our employees.
I'm not seeing where it's saying that, I missed that line.
Is it right, in the bottom,
In the
Down at the bottom.
green? Oh, in the
Yep.
green.
in any staff member, and then, okay,
full-time or part-time substitute.
You just want that added to the other.
instead
Well,
of say
instead of
professional
saying,
staff.
Yeah. A little more inclusive.
Consistent, it's
Mhm.
right, yeah, makes good sense. All right, so then on to weapons. Tasia, holler if we're going too fast, too.
Oh, I'm good.
we didn't have any changes for that one.
So good as is. Staff and school officials' use of personal communication devices.
Mark and I talked about this one today. Do you wanna take this?
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts to this one. We talked about this in one of our policies last year about the issue of cell phones and recordings and posting recordings. You know, like I take pictures and I'll send them, you know. There's, we just need a real straight answer from, I'm gonna give this to Trevor to weed this one out because there's just some cumbersome pieces in this policy here as far as what we have to be careful of and some just straight language in it. 'Cause, you know, like every school around does the same thing, posting highlights of games or pictures on their website, and social media use. And I think that was in our social media policies when we were talking about it. But with this policy here, it's a little confusing between the choices. And we don't want to curtail communications, but again, we wanna make sure we're protecting. And then also archiving of text messages and things like that. I mean, I don't know who's, I guess I've never been in a district or where we've had a real hard line on that now. Accessibility to them, if there's a problem, you end up surrendering cell phones and phone records and things like that. But we just want to get a good answer on what we have to do to archive, whether it's email, well, we know with email's not, but any of the social media, and then if it's a personal phone or a district operated phone, so we just want some clear direction. So,
And we need that from Trent or just?
no, Trevor.
Trevor, I mean?
Yeah.
So we don't, I'm sorry, I said the wrong name there.
No, I want to get input from him, just so we're heading in the right direction.
Because I thought that's why we had Neola look through it, but no, not really.
Yeah,
You feel more comfortable with
You know,
Trevor?
these are our policies, you know,
Okay.
Neola creates a framework.
Yep.
And then if we have to dig down deeper, which I think on this one, because this has got so many tentacles on it, that there could be some real things that we need to protect
I
ourselves
agree.
on, and Neola isn't the one that's gonna defend us.
Right, right.
You know, so that's why I just want Trevor to take a look at it.
Especially with us going with more of the personal communication devices from kids too.
And did you read through this one, Marie?
This policy,
Right.
not line by line,
Because
I
there's
skimmed
some
it.
stuff in here that's not even being changed, that if we were following this policy, we
It's
wouldn't
not
be doing.
accurate. Okay, we would not be currently doing it.
But we are.
Be in violation.
We're violating the policy.
Oh.
Right now, we
See,
are
and I wouldn't know.
currently violating the policy.
I don't have any kids in there anymore. I
But
don't have anything.
overall, you know, I lean toward option A rather than option B,
Okay,
but we certainly need some more
Guidance.
clarification.
okay, so you guys all want more clarification?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
so we've got the go-ahead for Trevor then. Let's have a look at her. 8310, public records.
So that's what I
Yeah.
said.
We have
And you
some
said you lean
additional-
more towards A rather than B,
Correct.
correct?
But there's some items in the entire policy that need to be looked at, in my opinion.
Okay. So on to 8310, you've got a little write-up here.
This is paragraph 4 on the first page, some additions. And these additions are according to the law, as it's written.
The only thing I would want to have confirmed is that anonymously.
That's the law.
It actually said that word is?
Yes.
Yep.
Anyone else have any questions on that?
Well, then you have to put in price per page.
So how do you charge someone if they're,
Anonymous.
Anonymous.
I guess that's part of what I,
They show up in a mask.
Or they send cash or PayPal or pay from an account.
Or someone pays it for them.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it is kind of a funny question.
And
Have to
they
have it.
might not have to pay, because if it's documents that are easy to get and they're requesting it by email, there's no charge.
well, there is for the time, you can charge for the time that it takes you.
Only if it's over $50.
So we could set an initial request fee, because it's using a person's time. I had to deal with it when I was the clerk at St. Joe. It takes time to find, look for, or even to just gather it for someone. There should be a flat rate, and I would not be opposed to $50, because it disrupts your schedule.
Well, this policy doesn't address a flat rate. This policy asks for a price per page if you're making copies. And Katie shared with us that at the county, it varies by department. It could be 25 cents per page, or it could be 50 cents a page for copying. So we thought we would ask the rest of the board if you had a
Well, the public
preference.
library charges 25.
So 25
cents.
is good
That's
with
pretty
me.
much the.
I would like to find out what other schools are doing to address it too, because it is an interruption of the day to go and collect these. So I'm wanting to know if other places do have a set fee, just right off the bat.
I mean, I'm fine with checking what other schools do, but I would be really hesitant to add a fee if someone wants something read up, I don't know,
Especially,
public records.
I think, I would be afraid that that would be breaking the law
Yeah.
because
But
of
we can
open
check.
records
I
requests.
don't think it's breaking the law because you're charging for the time that it's taking.
If you charge a minimum fee for every request.
I wanna find out what people are.
That's okay, we can find out.
And this
We're not
is
voting on it.
the $50 one, it does impose a fee if they have, of the actual time, of locating the record and that stuff. So if it's just printing off a few copies of something that is easily accessible, 25 cents a page, and if it's more work than that, then that's where the $50 comes in.
Cause that's right in here, Marie.
In the
Yeah.
state, there's a prepayment provision that you could.
So it's one or the other.
I could check with the MDC superintendents, just see what they.
Okay, if you would, please. It always sounds easy to somebody else, but when you have to go digging for it, and you're in the middle of something else.
You know, it really, it takes time, you know, it's. you
It's
know,
an interruption of the
it-
routine.
It is, you know, just like you're saying, I mean, right now, you know, Dave's got a mountain of things going on right now, and then anytime there's a request, you know, he tries to work it in there, but, you know, he had to vent today a little bit, just because, you know, again, with the construction, and all this, there's things behind the scenes that, you know, he's really booked on. Granted, we don't see anything happening, but there's a lot of behind the scenes.
I just know
things
from
happening.
my own experience, it's disrupting. You map out your day and you're gonna do this, and then somebody comes in with a records request. It disrupts totally what you had already mapped out for the rest, so. And I think the policy says you have to do it within so many hours too, so it
As
really
soon as
Reasonable.
practicable and
Yeah,
within-
that's right,
Reasonable.
that's right.
Reasonable.
That was
That's right.
a contentious topic a few years back about how much time we had to get people the information. And it was time, it was 7 days, or what happens if it's not 7 days?
Yeah, I remember
So
calling,
we did change the policy
I remember calling WASB on that one at that time too.
to make it as soon as possible, just because it might be summertime.
If someone's on vacation,
Right, and that's what we deal with a lot right now too, is
especially with
everyone's
small staff.
this year.
Okay.
So I'll check with
Alright.
NBC schools on that.
Okay, so we'll double check on that one, so we'll come back with that one at the work session probably on that one. And then the maintenance, mandatory reporting of student abuse and neglect.
Yeah, there were some things to add in this one. Number 1, paragraph 2. Just adding that extra information that used to be in the policy. And Neola probably didn't include it because they're servicing districts over the entire state and several states. But in our old policy, we gave the specific name and phone number, so we'd like to include that again.
Does that change or has that stayed the same for years?
For years.
And the addition of "and," call law enforcement and social services, not "or."
Yeah, I got it typed on that, on those notes.
No, is this just by our policy or legally we must do both? Or is it considered best practice, which
Makes sense.
it does, I'm just wondering if that has changed and now you should do both?
I think it has to do with the Wisconsin state statutes, but I didn't look up the statute to
Okay.
double check.
Okay,
But there are other places where it says that. And then if you go down to training, there's one place where you have to check a box, and we thought that should be checked.
under procedures,
No, under training, the green print,
because there's one under procedures
the
too.
district administrator shall coordinate all training and shall prepare administrative guidelines. It's in the first paragraph, at the end of the first paragraph.
Yep.
Training of on the laws?
Yeah, it should be of the laws, but Tasia says they'll clean that up,
Okay.
Does that tell me?
and it should be or violence, not of violence, but
You'll keep your notes, so you'll catch it if it's.
and then under procedures for reporting, there's another, is that where you were talking, Marie? There's another place to check that we thought should be checked? I mean, that just makes sense.
And we don't have a child welfare department in the county, so it needs to be the Department of Human Services.
We don't have one?
It's just under the Department of Human Services.
Okay,
It's
it's not
the whole-
independent.
So
Right,
that
so we
same
need to make sure
sentence that we put
Right.
in on number 1, paragraph 2,
Oh, okay,
we
I
just
see what you mean.
inserted that same sentence again. Do you see that, Tasia?
Mhm.
Okay. So the employee shall immediately call local law enforcement at 715, and St. Croix County Department of Human Services at, with the phone number again.
Because I'm not sure if I were that employee that I would think, okay, I made this call, oh, and I need to make this one too. I would have thought that they would, one would follow
Well,
to the
they-
other.
That's why
They
there should be a
don't.
training.
Yeah.
And that's putting the, kind of putting it on those departments, assuming that they're going to do the things that don't always.
Yeah.
And in that same section, the 4th paragraph is a repeat. It was probably an error on the part of Neola, so that entire 4th paragraph can be stricken because it's a repeat of what's in the paragraph above.
In procedures,
Uh-huh.
so each principal, that paragraph?
Correct. And that was it for that one.
Was that a good number for you guys, or was it too much? Or was it?
It didn't take,
It wasn't as long as,
it wasn't horrible.
Okay.
the biggest hangup was the one policy, the communication policy to try to figure that out, but it wasn't horrible.
So, Tasia, you were wondering about that, how many?
Lori, can you tell me where that's repeated? I'm not seeing the duplication.
It was in, what I wrote down says because paragraph 1, number 1.
So it's not exactly verbatim, but it's the same wording.
Mhm.
Is that what you mean?
It's the
Yes.
same.
Okay.
Regardless of the identity
And does
of the
it,
suspected perpetrator.
does it include whether real or alleged? Is that why it's in there maybe?
Yeah, because it says has a reasonable cause. A reasonable cause to suspect, nothing's proven.
Oh,
One-
right,
one-
that is the same as alleged.
Right.
So do we need to include that alleged in there? Wonder why they did.
Why do they have so much redundant stuff?
Words.
Because they're attorneys that come up with policies.
All right, great job. Thank you, guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of them.
So Tasia, if we keep doing 10, will we make progress?
More than we have.
And if she squeezes in 12?
No, not push it, Maria.
Well, I will say I was going to because then we would have like capped off, if we would have gone to like 13 or something, we would have capped off the 2018 updates, but
So
I
if you
was
don't
just
mind.
following.
two more.
what we had established.
Also, I have to do two.
If there's, in the future, if there's a cutoff point that would make sense and
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
not too far off, go ahead,
Okay.
don't you think?
I'm fine.
Thank you.
I will do that.
Thanks
you.
very much.
Did you guys, also, I just wanted to know if it was helpful, the rationale link that was provided on there, It's linked on the agenda as letter D where it just says policy review. Those are the notes from Neola about their rationale of why the changes.
Where is that?
For the indented, right after the D,
Oh.
above the Roman numerals.
Where
I
it
don't
says
know that I
policy
clicked
review?
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that was the rationale.
That's interesting.
Did you see that, Patty Jo?
No. But even looking at it, the stuff that we did
Doesn't change it.
doesn't change that. It was just taking out more of the redundancies that they
Yeah.
put in there.
I'll keep doing that with the policy updates,
Thank you.
whether it helps or not, but it might catch some of the questions that you guys have.
That is good. Have their reasoning behind it. All right. Any other questions on the policy review? So I have down the one coming back to work session. Bob, can I ask, would you check on that snowmobile? He asked if there's routes, if that's the same route as the ATV? Could you check with the village on that?
It's not the same.
Not the same? So we're leaving that one as is. And you were gonna change the other, so it looks like the other, all with the exception of that public records and the one Trevor's gonna look at.
If we don't have an area permitted,
Then we don't have to worry about it.
right, you could include ATVs as or side-by-sides or UTVs, recreation, golf carts. It's not,
It's not so far off.
we still get quiet.
So I just have two coming back for the work session and the others go right to, or do you guys wanna approve on the work session?
Well, there were some, I mean, if it's up to the board, the three of us are very familiar with them, and there were some that we feel are ready for approval, if you guys feel comfortable with it.
Should we just do them tonight? Are you okay with that, or we need a second reading on?
I always like the first and second reading.
Yeah,
just
we need it,
for-
yep. So we'll do it.
So I have
Procedural
everything
In case
but,
someone calls with an issue.
I have everything but 753002
Yes.
and 8310.
Yep.
Those we have the bigger questions on, the others, once the changes are made, those are all good, is that my understanding?
Good, yay, we're in agreement there.
Might be opposed.
Great, thank you, Kate.
And then I'll add more.
For next time.
Like 12 or 13 more. I heard him say that. All right, then we're on to item 5, consent agenda. Is anyone comfortable making a motion with all at once, or do we want to do them separately?
I'll make a motion for all at once.
Thank you, Catherine.
The consent agenda A, 1 and 2, B, 1, C, 1 and 2.
All right, anyone interested in being the second there? Thank you, Patty Jo. All right, do we have any questions or anything on those? All right, then, we have a motion on the table and a second to approve the consent agenda A, B, and C as presented on the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Yay, done. Great, motion passes unanimously, thank you. General information, June meeting date, or July meeting dates, we got a little
I
thing
thought I was
there.
seeing things.
So we've got our July meeting dates as the 8th and the 22nd. Sounds like Bruce won't be here on the 8th.
I won't be here on the 22nd.
Okay, so you know that, yeah, you got it.
I will not be here on the 22nd.
So, anything is not near as important as where you will
Yes.
likely be. So the ones around the table, I think I started with you last time, Bob, so Patty Jo, I'm gonna start with you this time. Catherine?
No.
Lori?
Katie and I went to a listening session that our representative for all of us, I think, except you, Murray, had a listening session and advocated for Governor Evers' budget pertaining to education. In particular, the part of the budget where funding for special education services would be reimbursed at a higher rate. Currently, our budget is over $3 million for that part of our expenses, and only 25% of it is covered by reimbursement. So over $2 million is coming out of our general fund to pay for special education costs that are mandated. And Governor Evers' budget has it go up a little bit for this year and up to 60% coverage
That would be a
for
surprise.
the year
yeah,
after.
if the
So we encouraged Gay to listen to her constituents rather than voting party line.
You know, this cross subsidy, if they fix that, we would, every district would be fine. But it's something they've never touched, or I shouldn't say never, it's been avoided.
And the fact that revenue caps have not kept up with inflation. Revenue caps haven't increased since, I think, 2014-15. Which is why we had to go to referendum, and fortunately, it passed.
Anything, Bob? Thanks, Lori, that good information. I appreciate that you each made it a priority. It'll be interesting what in the budget has to give to enable that. And what he has to do to get the support from all.
Well, he's been making the rounds. He
Yeah.
was just at the Human Services in St. Croix County in New Richmond, a week or so ago?
All right, then thank you all very, very much. We're on to our next meeting, which would be July 8th. So if I can have a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Patty Jo.
Second.
Thank you, Bob. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Good. We are adjourned.